When our inner and outer worlds are aligned, this creates the circumstances that are necessary for us to feel complete and fulfilled. In fact, it's the opposite of that. When our external world is completely misaligned with the way we feel internally, that we start to feel frustrated, that we start to feel constrained and claustrophobic, and as a result of that, a lot of negativity can creep into our lives. Welcome everyone to today's video. And this month I'd like to start talking a little bit about the concept of alignment. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about alignment is because in modern day yoga, alignment is generally associated with asana practice, with movement practice, and the way in which we place our bodily limbs when we move in and out of postures or when we hold postures for reasonable periods of time. And whilst, of course, alignment is important as it relates to asana, like all things movement related as they relate to yoga, when we become lost or when we overemphasize the role of the physical in our yoga practice, there's a grave danger that we begin to lose our connection to the essence of yoga, which is a practice which is designed for mental transformation, which allows us to experience liberation and a decrease of dukkha or suffering in our lives. So yes, alignment in terms of where we place our feet, our hands, our arms, and so forth in relation to each other can be a beautiful practice in working on or developing our understanding of alignment more holistically. But if we only focus on that element, then the deeper teachings and the deeper realizations that can be gained from understanding alignment at a more profound level can potentially be lost. So in my own experience, alignment finally arose many, many years into my life or decades into my life, making me realize that for many, many decades, I've been living out of alignment. Now, when I'm talking about alignment now, I'm not relating that to physical movement practice or even my body to a certain degree. What I'm talking about is a misalignment, a disconnect, or a dissonance between the way that I felt or experienced my external world, so the external circumstances of my life, for example, jobs, relationships, and connections with others, and the way that I felt on the interior in my inner space. Now, what's interesting is that for many, many years, I lived up to the idealized model that society held for me, and perhaps my culture held for me, in terms of getting good jobs, getting a decent salary, being in relationships with other people, so on and so forth, owning a flat at a relatively early age, for example. But all the while, although I had moments of enjoyment while all of those things were manifesting, generally speaking, I felt uncomfortable inside. I felt sad. I felt lost. I felt like something was missing in my very, very center. And so, despite putting all of this effort into realizing the model or idealized version of external life that I was supposed to find happiness through, I found that the more I pursued those goals and those projections of the mind, the more unhappy, the more disconnected, and the more suffering that arose in my life. It was only after I started practicing yoga for a reasonable period of time and making it a central focus, a priority, and something regular, a daily practice in my life, that I began to tune into something deeper, a connection to what we might call an inner voice or an inner guide, or intuition is another way of expressing it, that was very, very clear in terms of how it wanted its external world to manifest. To put that in another way, I was able to tune in to a deeper purpose and realize actually that the things that I had been doing up until that point were very much things that were of the mind. They were mind stuff. They were a result of my conditioning. They were a result of my culture. They were a result of attachment to these things and the false assumption that by succeeding in gaining those things, I would find peace, I would find tranquility, I would find stability. And everything in my life up until that point pointed me in a completely different direction, as I said, in a different direction of suffering and pain and anguish and anxiety and all of these things that are not pleasant to experience. So once I began to tune into what we might call a deeper calling or a deeper purpose, and I really, really got to a place where I knew in my heart of hearts that this was what I was supposed to be doing, perhaps then I was able to come into a place where I could gain the courage to start realigning my external world in order to align with the way I felt internally. I felt internally that I wanted to live a slower and more simple life. I felt internally that I wanted to spend more time focused on healing from the various things that I needed to heal from, like all of us need to heal from things in our lives. I felt that I needed to manifest this in a way externally that meant that I could find more compassion, more time, and more generosity to the other beings in my lives. And also, as many of you know, I needed to change my career because everything that I was doing in my career to that point was not satisfying me on a deeper level. And that is why I came actually to become a sharer or a teacher of yoga. So this was a process of alignment whereby understanding a more deeply held inner truth. And the reason that I hesitated there is because we must understand that these truths are all relative. It is only when we become enlightened beings that we understand the truth of reality. And so every other truth that arises is a truth on the journey to that ultimate truth, and therefore it is a relative truth. So understanding a more relative but perhaps deeper understanding of my truth and having a real conviction that that was what was needed in my life to benefit myself and to benefit others, it gave me the opportunity to develop and cultivate the courage that I needed to let go of the things that I had held so dear in my life up until that point. You see, even when we know that things are harming us, even when we know that things are not taking us in the right direction, because of their familiarity, because of the samskara or the pattern of engagement or attachment that we have had to those things for many, many years of our lives, we still carry the delusion or the false understanding that those things at some point will actually bring the peace and stability that we desire. But as I think you'll appreciate as we continue on this journey, that is absolutely the opposite of the truth. The more we try to cling to them, the more we try to hold them, the more they cause suffering in our lives. So what I noticed was that as I was able to commit to this new path, I was able to have the courage in my own eyes and to hold the way that other people judge me in a slightly detached way. I was able to, for example, let go of a reasonably good salary. I was able to let go of the idea that someday maybe I would be very, very wealthy through working in big corporate jobs. I was able to let go, for example, of the way that I was very, very attached to wearing smart clothes and new clothes and designer clothes and all of these kind of things. Not that any of these things in and of themselves are bad, but in that moment of time, and in order to live the life that I wanted to live, I needed to let go of those things to create the space and also the financial freedom by having less overheads to be able to pursue this path of yoga and ultimately to pursue this path as a teacher. I was looking into the garden earlier today and I was reflecting on and looking at a tree that stands right in the middle of the garden, and it reminded me of something that's often taught in ancient Indic philosophy, which is the idea of a mango seed, a mango tree, a mango seed, and that seed has the absolute potential to become a mango tree. There is nothing else that seed can become apart from a tree. All of the intelligence within it is pointing it in the direction, as long as it's nourished by soil, by sun, by rain, and its natural environment, it will inevitably grow into some form of mango tree. And the thing is that with human beings, because of the mind layer, we get so easily disconnected and misaligned from our true nature and from our true purpose. And as a result of that, we find ourselves doing all sorts of things that are completely misaligned. It's partly to do with the culture that we live in, where so much emphasis is made on or is placed on making money and placing the what we're going to do to make money first, rather than understanding our passions and our callings and having faith that if we really commit to those things will bring us peace and stability and satisfaction in and of ourselves. If we're doing something that's misaligned with our purpose, no matter how good we get at it, no matter how much money we make from it, no matter how much fame and recognition we get from that thing, we will still be fundamentally dissatisfied. And therefore, the more we cling to it, the more we create the circumstances for our dissatisfaction. However, if we come into connection with something that we feel truly passionate about and dedicate our lives to that thing, although externally the circumstances, the financial circumstances, for instance, may be challenging for a period of time, we will be so fundamentally satisfied in our inner domain and in our inner world. We will be so aligned in terms of our inner and our external world that whatever happens in the external circumstances of our lives will cease to be a factor in causing us suffering. We will be much more content. We will be much more mentally balanced. We'll be in a state of equanimity. We will move towards a state of peace far more effectively. And that is why this month, this concept of alignment, I feel is so, so important. In the new year, in this new month of January, all of us are looking for what we're going to do this year, what we want to achieve. And I'd really like to invite everyone to just take a moment to slow down and to just really look inwards and really have the courage to address and to look at and to feel into what is it really in my heart that is burning, that is lighting the way for me to move forward in my life? And what do I need to do in my life to take the courageous steps to move away from the things I've been attached to, no matter how small or big they may be, in order to create the space for me to open towards my path and to give myself the true possibility, the true opportunity to find peace in this lifetime. So for me, this is the true meaning of profound or deep alignment, aligning our inner purpose and our external worlds so that there is no dissonance and there is no misalignment. As always, I hope that you found this video useful. Please do reflect, and I look forward to sharing more videos with you very soon. Thank you.